Today, we are joined by Jennifer Stoddard Hoydu, the former chair of the Dallas County Republican Party, Isaac Laster, the chairman of the Young Republicans of Texas, and Sanjay Narayan. Thank you all very much for joining us. And we are going to be talking about the upcoming RNC Midterm Convention, which is the first of its kind, happening on September 9th and 10th at the American Airlines Center in downtown Dallas. And we know that President Trump and Vice President Vance are going to be giving the keynote addresses on each night. President Trump's going to speak on both nights, actually. And so I'm wondering, just for all of you, how excited are you about attending this convention, and why is it something that you wanted to do? Ladies first, we'll start with you, Jennifer.
Well, thank you for having me, Jack. Thank you, everybody, for joining. I think it's going to be fabulous. I think it's going to really energize our base around the country, but especially here in Texas. So, if you take a look at the rundown of what they're going to do, it's going to be every bit chock full of policy and all kinds of speakers. It looks just like a regular convention to me. So, I think it's going to be fantastic.
Sanjay.
No, I think this will be an exciting opportunity to revitalize and reinvigorate the campaign and really tell the American people once again before the midterm all the accomplishments that have been made under this administration, from revitalizing the economy with the extension of the tax cuts and deregulation, controlling the border, making sure that illegal immigration, less than 2 to 3 years ago, we were getting 10 million illegals a year. Unadulterated coming across the border, and all it did was take a change in leadership to put an end to that, to really highlight the importance of securing our border. And then really, number three, a change in the culture and the mood of the country, reestablishing kind of basic principles about voting integrity and the use of voting ID, making sure that we reestablish a principle of equal protection, making sure that we get rid of racial and gender preferences that were artificially hamstringing Americans on the basis of their mutable characteristics, and then reestablishing a protection of biological gender, making sure that men and boys aren't changing in girls' locker rooms and participating in women's sports. So I think this will be an opportunity to tell the American people again all the accomplishments that we've had and why it's important to retain that moving into November and for the next 2+ years.
Isaac.
Yeah, I'll echo some of what Sanjay had to say. I'm very excited to hear kind of not only some of the things that we know have already been accomplished, but kind of the future or the vision cast for the party going into the next couple of years. As a young Republican myself, I'm very excited to hear about, what's going to be done even further to kind of shore up our border policy, our immigration policy broadly, things that are actually going to promote jobs and well-being for American young people, whether that's a restriction to visa programs like the H-1B visa program, or things to do with housing costs. So that's what I would love to hear from Vice President Vance and President Trump, is kind of their vision for what are the next steps. We've accomplished a lot, but where are we going next to really, bring about well-being for American young people?
And Isaac, you talked about what you want to hear from the president, the vice president, just the speakers overall. But I'm wondering, how excited are you about going to this, and why was it important for you to be there?
Yeah, no, I'm very excited to be going. I think a lot of the people who are kind of critical in changing the conversation for the Republican Party are going to be there. And I'm going to be interacting with those people and networking with those people and helping to shape the Republican Party in Texas. So I think it's going to be the who's who. It's going to be the real patriots who are there and present. And I think it's great that a lot of young people are going to be a part of that conversation.
And some of the words that I heard in our conversation so far is energize, is reinvigorate. And I'm wondering, y'all are motivated, obviously, to get out and vote. Are other Republicans just as motivated? Sanjay, I'm going to start with you on that.
I think that's a really good question. And I think there's a degree of complacency that can take place, especially when you are in a state like ours, which has historically, at least for the last 20, 30 years, been run by Republicans at most of the statewide level offices. We take a lot of the accomplishments that we've had, the kind of the low tax and regulatory burden, the fact that businesses, daily people across the country want to come and move to Texas as for granted. But then when you look at elections across the country, whether it be in Michigan or New York City or in Los Angeles, and you see how close these elections can be and how the precipice that we are in losing everything that we've accomplished. I think it's important to reinstill why the conservative principles of free markets, individual responsibility, limited government, freedom are so important, why they've led to the level of prosperity that we have here, why it's important to protect, why it's important to continue through the election. So there is a degree of complacency that always happens. And typically midterms are bad generally for the party that's in power. And so this is an opportunity for us to put a stopgap. And so I'm glad that the administration is doing this. And I'm also glad that they're doing it here in Dallas. It's an opportunity for us to participate. This is an important part of the country. And it's great that we have an opportunity to participate in this.
And Jennifer, I'll ask you, and in addition to that is, aside from are people really motivated, what do you think has to be done for Republicans to win in November?
Well, we have to act like Trump's on the ballot. Let's be honest, there's a big difference in the turnout when Trump is on the ballot and when he's not on the ballot. We saw that from 2016 through the 2020 election, through the 2024 cycle. And, people can say that this is a midterm, Trump's not on the ballot, but he is on the ballot because we know that if we lose the Congress, we're going to be in impeachment for the next 2 years. We're going to have impeachment trial after impeachment trial after impeachment trial, and we will stop the progress that we've had over the last 2 years. We've had an incredible legislative session with the big, beautiful bill and all the tax cuts that people are just now starting to feel. And if we lose Congress, we're going to be going through that impeachment cycle again. And if we are complacent enough that we lose the Senate, who knows where we are? I mean, I know we have to have 60 votes for a conviction, but hopefully we wouldn't get there, but we could be in that type of cycle. So we have to convince people that this is as important as a presidential election year. And I think that this is one of the reasons we're having this midterm convention is to get people focused on what we've done, and that if we don't treat this as a big turnout election, we could be losing all the momentum that we've gathered. The accomplishments are only as good as long as we can keep them. If we lose the momentum, those accomplishments could go away. So we have to have turnout is what we have to have, Jack. We have to make sure that we energize, everybody. The three of us on this program with you, like you say, are energized. We have to make sure we get 10 people next door to us, 10, family members, 10 neighbors, and get them out and get them just as energized as we are. And I think that's what this midterm convention is about, is making sure that the country realizes exactly what Sanjay said. Here are the accomplishments that we have. And just like Isaac said, there's a lot more left to do. We do need to improve housing costs for our young people. I have a 26-year-old son. He tells me every day, Mom, I can't afford to buy a house. And I said, yep, I get it. We're working on it, and we have a lot more to do. And so I think that's why we're doing this convention, is to remind people, yeah, we've done a lot. We've closed the border. We've made things a lot better, but we have a lot more to do. And if we don't get energized, we don't get out to the polls, and we don't support our candidates, we're not going to have the opportunity to do that.
And Isaac, a lot of the time, a lot of people often wonder, are young people going to go out and vote? And some candidates sometimes make the mistake of counting on young people to show up at the polls. And so I'm just wondering, you're chairman of the Young Republicans of Texas. How motivated are the younger people who are in your organization?
Oh, well, the people within our organization are incredibly motivated to get out and vote. With that being said, though, I think people who join a political organization, that's obviously some sort of selection bias. These people are very into the process and into the policy and things like that. But I'll just make a comment about young people more broadly and their likelihood to vote. It's not any surprise or any secret that, the majority of the electorate skews to be older demographics. But for younger people, I think you can absolutely motivate them to vote if your messaging includes them. Right? If all of your messaging is about, property tax or something like this, the effects of that maybe trickle down to younger people, but it's not something that is in the forefront of their mind. Because like Jennifer said, a lot of these people who are young don't own homes. So the property tax situation is not something that is at the front of their mind. So if the messaging is about making housing affordable in other ways, if the messaging is about protecting American jobs for American college graduates, those are things that are going to actually motivate young people to get out there. So if I were to give advice to the party, I would say make sure your messaging is actually including young people and the things that they care about if you want to motivate them and get them out there to vote.
And what would those topics be, in your opinion?
Some of those things that I just mentioned.
Okay.
I think the immigration situation, as far as the job market, is a huge one. I think people are feeling that squeeze. A lot of my friends and people that I know are coming out of school with a lot of debt, and then they find themselves, competing with people from all around the world for American jobs that, in my opinion, and the opinion of many people within my organization, those jobs really should be going to American young people first and foremost. And the housing situation is another one. Whether it's, enforcing immigration policy through deportations, or if it's building more housing and decreasing regulation, any policy that's going to enable young Americans to purchase homes, have a family, have children, and have a job, that's what young people are going to want.
And let me ask you, because what we're hearing is, what we've seen really in the last several months is the Democratic Socialists of America, their candidates have been winning some primary elections in some of the Democratic majority states. And I hear a lot of people saying on both sides that this is the result of a lack of new ideas in political parties. I'm wondering what you each think about that. Whoever wants to go first can tackle that.
I could take that first.
Sure.
There's definitely been, the DSA has also benefited from the fact that they've had some charismatic candidates in some of these elections. Let's not beat around the bush. Some of them have been very articulate, presentable, and have slick social media presences, and have had the good fortune in some cases, like in the New York City race, to run against disgraced other candidates. So circumstances have kind of coalesced in order to do that. But it would be a mistake, I firmly believe, for Republicans and conservatives to try to outcompete DSA and progressive type candidates without promising them. With the Democratic Socialists of America, at this point, they are the heart of the Democratic Party. They're one and the same, notwithstanding whatever protestations they make. They want to provide free things to everybody: free college, eliminating student level debt, free housing, freezing the rent. These are all ludicrous ideas. They've never worked when they've tried. They constantly point to examples where they believe that it hasn't been fully enforced, but it's never worked and it never will. And so my protestation, for conservatives is to be mindful of that. We need at least one party in the country that stands up for free markets and free people. And where that's been implemented, it's worked successfully. It's worked in Texas. It's worked in Florida. That's a tried and true model. Let's continue to push that forward. And that will result, like Isaac was suggesting. Let's eliminate regulations that prevent people from building more housing in areas where we have open land, so that people can actually go there and actually put down roots and build build families for them. Let's implement policies that help people have families, children, grow together. Being pro-life as conservatives, we got to also be pro-family, and so that means providing policies that go beyond just bumper stickers, but actually help solve people's problems. So I think it's a real challenge, which you mentioned, Jack, but it's something that can be addressed using conservative principles.
Who would like to go next? Jennifer?
Sure. I think that the Democrat Socialist Party is not as attractive in most places as you see it in California, New York, Michigan, some of these places. I think in the heart basket of America, it's not going to survive. It's not going to be popular. We'll see what happens when we get to these general elections, right? I mean, they've won some primaries in very blue states. I don't think it's going to be an attractive formula across the country. I just don't. I guess we'll see. I honestly think that most young people, and Isaac, correct me if I'm wrong, hardworking young people see the difference between giving away free stuff and earning it. I do think that as conservatives, we've been asleep at the switch to some extent. I think that this lack of ability for young people to get into affordable housing, and I don't mean low income housing, I mean being able to buy a single family home it's a problem. It's a big problem. I think it is a big problem. There's a lot of reasons for it. And I do think that conservatives and the administration have woken up to that and they're starting to see ways that we can fix that. And so that in my opinion is one of the biggest issues for young people that need to be tackled by conservatives. But I don't think that socialism is the answer. And I don't think most people, I mean, I have a 29-year-old and a 26-year-old, and neither one of them think that this is an attractive answer. They don't want to go to work every day and give their hard-earned dollars away to other people who are not out there working as hard as they are. And they understand the difference between the two models.
Isaac?
I think two things can be true at the same time. I think the policy prescriptions of the DSA types are woefully incorrect. I think I would agree with the other panelists that we don't want to give things away to people who are not working or continue those kinds of programs necessarily. But something else that is true is that I think if we continue within the Republican Party to have solely a pull yourself up by your bootstraps kind of mentality, I think you're going to lose a lot of young people. I think the pressure that young people feel economically is very, very real. And it really is secondary, the truthfulness of the policy when it comes to getting somebody to vote for you. If somebody's actually speaking to your economic plight and they're promising you a lot of things, I hate to say it, but a lot of young people are going to vote for that person. And I agree. I think that probably it is some fault of the Republican Party to not be innovative with new ideas and bringing those ideas to the forefront to address the economic situation for young people. But I would caution people to not have this pull yourself up by your bootstrap mentality all the time. There are so many young people who are hardworking, people that I know who are sympathetic to some of these DSA types, not for personal reasons, not because they love everything they stand for, but they do feel like this person is at least speaking to issues that I care about. So I would fully support the Republican Party providing their own novel or innovative solutions and rhetoric when it comes to the economic situation that's facing young people.
And then I'll just ask each of you for any closing thoughts you have about going to this convention. We're told 20,000 people may attend. It's the largest such Republican convention in 10 years since President Trump's first convention as the nominee in 2016. Sanjay?
Yeah, no, I think it'll be an exciting opportunity to meet other people, as well as folks from the administration, and give an opportunity to the country again to talk about and highlight the accomplishments and the various candidates that are running at different levels and why it's important. I mentioned at the beginning the accomplishments from securing the border, cutting regulation, and then reestablishing a culture of meritocracy, both at the federal and across the country. I think that's important to reiterate, and then also championing a vision of what this looks like moving forward. There are divisions even within the Republican Party of what that looks like, right? I mean, so there are, what policies can we have moving forward to ensure that people are able to make a decent wage and raise a family? What type of policies are we going to be able to propose to people to actually see that there's a light at the end of the tunnel? We're still having, the effects of inflation, 9-10% from 3 years ago, but it's still 3.5%, 4%. What are the solution for foreign policy? President Trump and the administration ran and got a large portion of the youth vote, of which I'm one as well, and people across the country on a promise to end, foreign wars. How are we going to continue to do that? Where do we see a reasonable resolution of some of the conflicts that we have overseas? Those are the types of policies and positions that hopefully this convention will be an opportunity to talk about, and what the next iteration will continue to be and how we can improve people's lives. So I'm excited to be part of it. I'm excited to join it. And I'm looking forward to it.
Isaac?
I think Sanjay really hit the nail on the head. I think a lot of people are very excited to hear what comes next. A victory lap is always fun. We love to celebrate our accomplishments. But as far as what comes next for our foreign policy, which is a great one, people want to see a wind down to kind of ongoing conflicts around the world. They want to hear how you're going to make their wallet a little bit fatter, how things are going to be easier for them economically. And we're really excited. We've got 20, 30 people who are within our organization who are going to be there at the convention, and we can't wait to meet everybody there and continue to shape the future of the party in Texas specifically.
And Jennifer?
I think it's going to be a really positive upbeat convention. There are going to be a lot of young people there. I'm so glad a lot of people from Isaac's group's going to be there. I know there's going to be a lot of people from Turning Point USA there. The agenda is fabulous. It is going to take a little bit of a victory lap on what has happened, but they're going to talk a whole lot about what's to come. And it's really going to focus on the golden age and what can be accomplished in the United States and the American dream and how it's still there and how the policies of this administration and the conservative agenda can get people back on track to get to their American dream and focus on families, focus on, personal growth and doing and accomplishing what you want to accomplish in the United States of America. So it looks like to me, from what I'm looking at, from the agenda and the speakers that I see that are coming, it's going to be a very positive, forward-thinking agenda, a great celebration of our country, and I'm really looking forward to it because it looks like it's just going to be a happy, positive, fun time, and I think our country could use that right now.
All right, we are going to leave it there. I thank you all very much. Jennifer Stoddard Hoydu, Isaac Laster, Sanjay Narayan. Thank you all very much. We appreciate it.
Thanks, Jack.
Thank you, Jack.